Hello, traders. It's 8:02 a.m. Chicago time on Thursday, the 22nd of July, 2021. Thanks for joining me again. Welcome back, and we meet again. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This is episode number 2039. We have an interesting setup for today. It looks like we are tired as a market. But let's jump into the convergent trading summary sheet. Real quick here, we see that the overall posture of the market is mixed this morning. Why is it mixed? We see that Europe advanced a little bit. Euro stocks 50 and German DAX are strong. The Russell is off 11 points. It's the weakest of the indices. The NASDAQ is completely sideways. The NASDAQ is just above its settlement from yesterday. The Dow's off 46 points, and the S&P is around the settle price from yesterday. So there's just kind of a mix and match thing going on there. And then we look at the other side of the coin, which is the treasuries. The 10-year note and the 30-year bond are kind of moving in opposite directions a little bit. The 10-year note up 1.5 or 2 big ticks. The bonds are now flat, unchanged on the day, and the Euro bond is up 25 cents, even though the German DAX and the Euro stocks are up as well. Crude is making a bit of a recovery, coming back to the $70 mark on the September contract, and the dollar is, which has been showing a little bit of strength, is also unchanged. The shape or the condition of the auction overnight in the S&P, although this has changed just recently, 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago when this sheet was updated, it was completely balanced profile. Now we've went and built a multi-distribution profile in the S&Ps. The volume is very, very much normal, 155,000 with 15.25 points of range, very, very much normal. And the overnight inventory is pretty much flat. So there's really not much to glean in terms of imbalances in the overnight session. It's just been sideways. We did explore higher across the board and then fell off, and that goes for the Russell, the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P, all having tested overnight and come off. Gold took a pretty good pop right into the initial claims number. Initial claims came in a little bit weak. Initial claims were expected at 350,000 as a consensus forecast, 340,000. Came in at 419,000 higher, which is worse. And then also the Chicago Fed National Activity number came in, the index came in at 0.09 versus 0.45 this morning. And, you know, let's not forget that the ECB also announced its interest rate decision. Completely no surprises there. Left interest rates at 0, the deposit facility rate at negative 0.5%. So overall, not much there to talk about. We had quite a few earnings this morning. Some key earnings this morning. Freeport announced. Freeport McMoran. Biogen, Blackstone Group, Abbott Laboratories, American Airlines, Southwest Airlines, and AT&T all announced. Everybody came out in line or with a slight surprise, with American Airlines really surprising to the upside, along with Biogen by 25 to 29%. AT&T surprised to the upside by 12%. And then after the market, we get Intel and Twitter. Coming in after the close. Intel is expected at $1.06 in earnings, 17.84 billion in revenue, and Twitter expected at 7 cents in earnings and 1.06 billion. 1.06 billion in earnings, and that's where we stand. So going forward, consumer confidence flash at 10 Eastern. Looking for existing home sales at the same time in the U.S. for June month on month. And then we're looking for this evening at 7:01 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, GFK consumer confidence. Let's jump into what was expected yesterday. Yesterday, one of two paths here, given the way this has turned in the overnight session. I talked a little bit about a tweezer top being set up in the S&P on the overnight session. The expectation is it's likely to push a little bit higher and come off, and if it does, it's got pretty thin area of volume from the prior day, from the trend day up. If that, barring that, then I'm expecting it to pull back as far as the overnight point of control at the time, looking at 43.22 as support, and then I'm looking for it to push through that 43.38. I talked about the fact that there's likely to be a lot of resistance in this area once it gets above 38. Remember, 38 to 46. I talked about this quite a bit yesterday. A very, very long trader bite. We'll try to not make this one a long one as well. I talked about the high probability that if we get into that area and we're long into that area, which is what we're looking for, we're looking to get long into that 38 to 46 area. If we do, expect a lot of chop up there. Expect it to be choppy. That's where last Friday's battle was. We have a point of control there in a high volume node, or a point of control, and we expect it to be choppy. The next stop is likely to be 50, but the ultimate target is 71 if we continue. Here's what we actually got yesterday. A relatively clean trade yesterday, in my opinion. We tried to pull back. We went as far down as 26, and remember, I was saying the support is expected all the way down. I expect it to turn somewhere around the 43.22, and if it does, we're looking to get long, a breakout into 43.38, expecting a lot of chop between 38 and 46. 38 and 46 right in here. And look at that. Spent most of the day there. Most of the session was spent in this zone. This is how high volume nodes and points of control work. This is what's expected. And then ultimately we're looking for a push to 50 next. Right in here. We settled at 50. We went to 52 and a quarter. And then we pulled back and settled at the 50 mid-century figure, and an area that has been it was embattled on the way down. Again, did not quite get to the 71, of course, and that remains a target, and looks like today's a rest day before we push. Something to note, very large delta, traded at 52 on the way down. There was a very clear spike in the buy delta. There was a lot of buying in that 52 area on the way down. There was quite a bit bought there. It wasn't just an iceberg. It was someone lifting, and it was an iceberg seller, and it kept lifting and lifting and lifting. So we ended up with a very large delta at that exact price. And that marked the high yesterday. Went through it by a tick. That's just an order flow based characteristic, not an auction one, although the two are related. But we made a nice little push into the close. There was some pretty decent selling on this pullback here to the VWAP. You could see where the delta went negative, And then this run up into the close, this rally into the close, did not have much behind it. There was a fair amount of battling there, but price made a pretty good progression, but there was not much delta to it, and we closed at highs. So we balanced in the 38 to 46 zone as expected, worked out beautifully there. A lot of indications of weakness once we got into this 42. I warned the folks at Convergent and the Head Trader channel that this is starting to not look good for the longs. I have no interest in holding a position for hours and hours and hours with no return. I find that in that situation, I'd be a sitting duck. That's not the style. That's not my style. I don't like doing that. I'm not a swing trader, and I would rather let it go and then come back and look for another entry. But overall, we progressed upwards as expected. This is scenario 2. Did not quite get to the 22 down here, but this was scenario 2 playing out quite beautifully yesterday. So there was also another setup here, a long setup against the mid after the push up that worked out pretty well as well. So anyway, so that's where we stand. We ended up closing at the upper quartile of the range. We don't quite have a trend day yesterday. It was not quite a trend day yesterday. So what do we expect? We expect a higher high in the overnight session. The auction is not complete. We did not find sellers by the time the cash closed, which, by the way, again, a reminder that starting 3 weeks ago, the cash and RTH are now one and the same. There's no more pit versus cash. It's all cash. So my RTH is the cash session now. So here we reopen. We immediately push that highs, totally expected. And in the overnight session, we build this very tight, completely Gaussian, completely normal profile. We ended up pushing in the last, hour or so, and we created this secondary distribution here into the settlement price. And what we're just now getting underneath the settlement price. Yes, we're just now getting underneath the settlement price. And so what we have here is a market that coming into today's session seems exhausted, seems tired. The delta is flat. The market is flat. We're trading completely flat. What that's saying is in the overnight session, there was nothing new for the participants to reprice into the market. And we need to take that into account and expect that this morning's trade is likely to be relatively choppy. We are right smack dab in the middle of summer. So take that into account and understand that you need to kind of step back a little bit on the open and not be so responsive to every up and down tick. Just relax into it this morning and let the market kind of set up. Again, we're still looking for that 43.71. That is the next key balance area to test, 43.71. And we're in the 43.50 area, the mid-century figure, right against, again, this box right here from Friday. That's the template day, and we built a box on top of it yesterday. So this is kind of a choppy area, and things change once we get below 38. Now, if the market opens and it drops and it gets below 38, now we've got something. Now we're likely to end the one-time framing up on a daily, which means that we are likely to tackle 43.26. And if we take out 43.26, we come back into the balance of 2 days ago, of Tuesday. And if we cannot maintain the 43.10 here, then we are likely to drop quickly because there's not much structure Not much structure here all the way down into 42.87. So again, let me restate that. The map going forward for today is if we don't hold this, look at the overnight low, 46. I've said that 38 to 46, 38 to 46, 50 times yesterday, and maybe 5 times this morning. If we don't hold that 46 as the low, and we start to push through and get below that 38, again, now it's kind of shifted to 35 a little bit, but let's call it 38. If we get below the 38, then we're looking at 26, and if it doesn't hold the 26, we're looking at 43.10. If it doesn't hold the 43.10, we're looking for 42.87 as the next major point of control to test right down here. You see it marked on my chart, MC point of control. So that's the, if you're a pilot, these would be your waypoints to the target, right? These would be your turning points with your fighter jet to the target. So that's how I'm looking at the market. This is what's called the narrative, and we're trading the narrative. At the end of the day, we're trading the narrative, and the way to hold on to trades, especially with size, if you're putting on size, you need to understand the narrative to be strong in those trades. And that's what this Trader Bite's about. It's not about drawing lines and hoping the market follows them. It's about understanding the map. So let's look at what's expected for today. I could show you the heat map on Edge Pro X, but there's not much to talk about in terms of what the market has done overnight. It really is relatively quiet. Let me change something really quick. Okay, so what are we looking at for today? This is our expectations segment. Primary scenario, given where we're opening, unchanged on the day. We are at the upper end of the range. We're looking at an open. We're opening against settlement. We're looking at an open that's likely to be choppy and quiet. Looking for responsive selling, a test of the overnight low of 43.46. I'm looking for it to come back into balance with yesterday's point of control, so 38.39. This is the point of control right here, and we have a little bit of support right in this area. Yesterday's overnight high, mid, VWAP, and RTH all kind of come together in that 39 area, and then I'm looking for it to come back to the open and squeeze for a push to 71. Again, 71 becomes the key here. Let me turn on my stock zones. 71 becomes the key. 71, that becomes the big prize, the big balance area, and it brings us to a point where now we can go and attack the all-time high at 84.5. So that's scenario one, and it may just chop around and not do anything at all. However, we are at Thursday. We're in the middle of the week. There's no holiday tomorrow. It is summer trading, but it's expected to get its ranges. So today, projecting a range of around 22 points or so. 71 is a bit of a long shot. Given the range we've accomplished overnight, and given that we don't have any imbalance overnight, getting a lot of range is a long shot. It's going to be tough to get about 30 points, which is what would be needed for 71. Secondary, open auction, pushes to the overnight point of control, consolidates up here, pushes the 61, and then we get responsive selling back to the open, consolidate, push the overnight low, and get into that 43, 38, 39 area. And if it gives it up, ideally, if it gives it up, then we're looking at 26 down here, 10, but there's some support ahead. So wherever there's a stock zone, there's expected to be a fight. Consolidate and come back in to give us an end to one-time framing up on the daily. If that happens, we'll get an expansion in range. We'll get extra or more volume, we'll get some stop runs. We're likely to get the VIX turning up, and the options kind of supporting the sell side. So that would be the expectation for today. That's quite a bit of range, about 50 points of range, not likely, but if it continues to chug through the 46 down into the 38, takes out the 38, and then pushes to the 26, and you're still short, you have to go and gauge how it gets into those areas and bounces. And if it continues to go through, then you're looking to add or hold and look for the next area, again, 26, 26, 10, and then below 10, really, it's likely to get to 42.87 over the next session or so, unless we have a V bottom. A lot to cover. Good luck. Are you learning something by being here? Any feedback would be appreciated. Is this too much detail for you? I want to make sure you don't just get some sort of lines on a chart. The goal here is to help you understand how the auction works. And by the way, in my opinion, this is the process if you're trading Forex, if you're trading crypto, if you're trading stocks, any stock, if you're sizing up your options, strike prices, and expirations. It is all an auction, folks. It's all an auction, all of it, all of it. It's an auction. You're buying a house, it's an auction. You're buying a car, it's an auction. It's all an auction. Some of those are constrained auctions, one-way auctions, but this is the point. The point is you're not here to look at numbers on a chart and lines and trade against them. You're here because you are learning how markets work. And those markets could be the next deal you do for a construction contract. It's an auction. We see this, the markets make it electronic, immediate, and very fast, in that the volume can be measured and the price can be seen. But this same logic, the auction logic, is how we trade on everything. It's how you go and decide whether the thing you're buying at your grocery store is at, below, or above value. Same process. Okay? So you're not wasting your time by learning this, and you're not wasting your time if trading it doesn't work out for you. This is something you need to know. It's important in business and negotiations, and it's the same process. We're just negotiating electronically using our money by buying and selling contracts, whether it's a 1 lot, a 2 lot, a 300 lot. It's just relative to the account size. Good luck.